Hi guys, welcome to Rootstem. Sorry to start the video this way. I completely forgot. Well, I don't think I forgot. I must have either done something wrong or lost the footage of the original beginning to this video. So effectively, you're just going to look at the still while I say please like, share, subscribe, hit that notification button for more. As we're about to get on painting the Chaos Space Marines from the Blackstone Fortress set. I'm going to be painting them up in Iron Warriors colours, as this is probably going to be one of the easiest ways to get these painted up and done. So all you need to do really is to spray up your models in lead belcher. So, we'll start with the video.
So, we've got some Stonewall Silver in my airbrush. I've got my model painted with the lead belcher, and we're just going to put highlights on. So like around the sort of leg, the foot, the arms, just everywhere where you think you're probably going to have a bit of a highlight for a silver. So now, get some Nuln oil and paint it all over the armour panels. Give it a good dosing, but don't go silly heavy, and just watch for pooling. Next up, put some dry brush on with using Necron compound. Just basically coat it over the whole model. So next up on our Chaos Space Marines, we've got a bit of wet paletting. Now we're going to do a red cloth. So just paint all the cloth areas red. Don't forget to do the back. So figures have now got their red. I'm going to mix in the wet palette. We're going to mix up the Evil Sun Scarlet with the Corn Red. Make it a little bit watery. It might be a bit too watery, right, if I'm honest. I might just add a bit more red as well. Always clean your brush. And we're just going to leave the recesses. Nearly didn't show you that. Apologies if I didn't on the last one. Painting in the deepest recess. Don't forget this will dry. This will dry darker than what you initially put it on. Now I'm adding some orange into that as well. Into that red now that I've got it to a point that I like it. I'm just going to try and hit the edges and further down towards the bottom. So next up, 1 part Lamy medium, 1 part Agraf Surf shade, and we're just going to do all of the red, including the red underneath. Even though I've not highlighted it, I'll still give it a bit of a shade, as it were. So, after masking up your figure like a mummy, which is what I'm doing, I'm actually going to airbrush the black onto the shoulder pad and across the base plate of the gun. The reason I'm using an airbrush, before anyone starts, I don't like, I like a smooth look with the shading. So I'm using an airbrush for this, but you don't have to. You can actually go and use a standard brush and just paint this in. But you will need to mask off for when we do the chevrons. I'm going to be doing the chevrons, which is why I'm painting this area black. I'm going to be doing the chevrons with an airbrush because it just looks nicer. Also, as a side note, I hate painting black with a brush. Don't know why. Then next, with the toothbrush, put a little bit of Mechanica Standard Grey as a highlight, just trying to get from the top down. So, now I've done my anal black. Basically because I wanted more of a, I like a subtle change. So, I'm going to get some Avalon Sunset. I've got a small basing brush with a nice fine tip, and I'm going to make my own. Now, normally you'd probably mask this off, but the problem is when you're doing it on shoulder pad, the shoulder pads are curved, and when you're trying to do the masking, it doesn't follow the lines enough. So I'm just gonna try and create a very thin right, so that's where my chevron is going to go. And what I'm going to do now is bulk it out. So I'm going to bulk it out one that way. And bulk it out one that way. Hoping you guys can see this. And then bulk it out one that way. And bulk it out one that way. So I'm just going to try and be as light as I can. And try not to put the paint on too heavy just yet. I don't like the paint chevrons, I never quite get them right. So, good idea then, Paul. Right, so what you do after, so I've got my main one I think is going to be alright. I'm just going to get, and then I'm going to kind of estimate roughly how thick it's going to be, and then start painting the second line in. So that's the line that's from that bit, and then I'll probably go all the way near to the edge, and then just paint that one in. And then on the last bit, again, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to pick one out of three. I'm going to pick a line. And be like, right, that looks roughly right. There we go. And then block that in. Might look a bit thicker than what it's supposed to. But... right. And then of course I'm going to do that on the bolter casing, but that's just going to be easier, and then I'm going to do it on the other models. Now, once you've done it, go back over it so that you can get a solid yellow, because you are going on top of black. Next up, I'm going to get some Uriel yellow. Already done it on one, and we're just going to go over the patterns just to reinforce that yellow, make it a little bit brighter. Next up, either Scorched Brown or Rhinox Hide, as you can see from the photo, and we are gonna paint up the leather details. Everyone knows I like to use a brown on the leather details. Probably gonna need 2 thin coats. Next up, get some Scrag Brown into whatever, you know, your palette. I'm usually with a palette just because it's easier to manipulate the paint. Make sure that you thin it down, and then use it as your highlight. Now I know that looked quite bright. Try just to edge highlights if you can, and that will dull down, and we're going to put a wash over the top, so don't worry too much about the full highlight. So while we're waiting for this highlight to dry, just get a bit of tinny tin, the laser, and this is going to be our trim. So it's going to be quite a dark trim, it's not going to be a bright trim, and it should contrast nicely with the bright silver that we've already got on the model. Next up, your Shabty Bone. I'm going to paint this on the anywhere where effectively there's a skull. You might need a couple of coats. So anywhere where you can see the skull. Don't forget that you need to do a trim on the bolters as well. And there is some little bits of bone sticking out. So I'm going to also get them with the Shabty. So everything that looks like bone, and then on the knee, now you can, if you wanted to, you could have painted that on the knee with just your brass, sorry, your tinny tin. But I'm going to actually paint that skull as a skull. I'm going to paint a whole knee pad. Right then, next up, Agrax Earthshade. Woo! We all knew a wash were coming. Getting an older small basing brush, and I'm just going to put it all over the leather. I'm going to put it on the tinny tin, and we're also going to put it all over the bone. So while we're waiting for the Agrax Earthshade to dry, I've mixed up some Black Templar contrast paint with some contrast medium. It's about 2.5 to 1 of Black Templar, so 2.5 contrast medium. And we've kind of got a darker ink, or like a shade, that we're going to put into the metal areas on the weapon. The reason for that is I want the weapons to look darker than their counterpart. I'm also going to put it on this little bit at the back here. So I'm still wanting a bit of the silver to come through, but I'm wanting to look darker than they do the actual armour, so they kind of stand out a bit more. And then pure Black Templar. This is going to go on the pipes. And it over ribbon now if you don't want to mess up. So if you need to use a smaller brush, do so. But anything like there. Anything where it's kind of like the undersuit that's showing. Thankfully with contrast, but you can just put it over your finger. And any pipes, of course, on the helmet. So cracking open the grace here, we are going to paint the head of this marine, and we're also going to paint the eyes. So this Space Marine's got an exposed head, and we're so two things. You'll need a couple of coats to make sure you get an even coating. And with the eyes, you can probably get away with maybe just dotting it straight from the pot. But sometimes it's, well, sometimes it's not worth it, and getting a thinner brush is. So for the head of the Chaos Space Marine, I've got Dark Flesh with some medium. I actually put it into my wet palette because I noticed the other day some people are starting to say that you can actually use a bit of water with contrast paints regardless of what workshop tell you. I think it might depend on the contrast paint, but it is actually going on a lot nicer than before. Now hopefully that will settle nicely and give me a very lightish flesh. So pretty much these Chaos Space Marines are nearly done. What we need to do is, I did my usual leaving the grenades silver, and I just put a bit of oak flesh wash over the top of them. I like the idea of green grenades, it stands out quite well. And we'll also get a smaller brush. You see my arm going across the screen. We're going to put the oak flesh wash into the eye. These guys are going to have green lenses. And you can do different lenses if you want. What I might end up doing is, I might end up doing like blue and red, and just to differentiate my squads normally. I always like to add little changes, like a marking or just something where you can denote which unit is supposed to be which. That's if you do it that way. So I'm hoping that's showing right. These are nearly done. I've put some eyes in. Done with green grenades. Now, basing, I'm going to do something special. And I hope everyone else does their own unique style too. There we go. Some Chaos Space Marines. I feathered some Steel Legion drab into the feet and put a bit of blood splatter on one of them just to try and keep. I'm going to try and have a theme of sort of like dirted feet and blood splatter. I suppose they are Chaos Warriors. But thanks very much for watching that, guys. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button if you do want to see more. I'm going to be doing some more. Now, the next up should be the Chaos Lord. So we're pretty much near the end of the bad guys from this game. Might take a break from painting those and then we'll get straight on with the good guys. But thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.